The real monsters are not always the creatures that may be lurking just outside our door, but those that are, truthfully, creeping within the safe warmth of our homes. Today's episode is set in a small town in West Virginia, where the stories of haunted houses are not mere rumors. Among the many haunted houses, there is one being a terrifying figure for more than 30 years. An ordinary house, in which something awful is going to happen. This house is stood in the shade of a small town, abandoned and deserted. This story takes place in a small, quiet town in West Virginia, where legends of haunted houses are more than just local gossip. One house in particular has terrified residents for over 30 years. A seemingly normal house that hides a disturbing secret. The locals call it the Watcher's House. The Watcher's House has a dark history. Long time ago, before this house became infamous and got its appropriate name, Devil's Den, it was the property of a highly regarded doctor and his wife. Nevertheless, when one night they simply vanished, leaving behind the locked bedroom and a dining table laid for two, whispers started and followed soon after that. Some thought they ran away from it, but there were those who could sense something far worse had settled within that home. Each emptied from the house one by one, sometimes in the middle of the night, others when they started having visions, paranormal at best. However, in 2003, a family came into the house with intent to change this notion and be a turnaround. Peterson was a family of 4 people who wanted a change in their lives. They were positive, and negative of the house, at least as far as rumors went. For the first few weeks, even such observations appeared quite ordinary. This new home met the lovebirds as they quickly transformed the old house to one that suited them, the Petersons. But soon events that are rather unusual started to pop up. It began as simple cases of a lost something or the other, strange sounds during the night. The family dismissed this as just characteristics of the house being old. However, the disturbances were not long contained as they grew more wild. Every night at exactly 2 in the morning, the whispers of footsteps could be heard passing through the hallways at 3:33 a.m. with no one awake around. At night, their daughter Emma was the first to sense the presence of the house. She was always terrified to sleep because she dreams of a man standing at the foot of her bed, naked with a featureless face and covered in darkness. Initially, her parents assumed that it was because she had nightmares, but the look in her eyes, something was very wrong. It was reported from the spot that even the furniture shifted by itself. The chairs were seen moving on the floor at night. The bulbs switched on and off all by themselves. Doors of the rooms were found closed shut suddenly in the middle of the night, as if the family was being handled like a live puppet, or whatever there was that was watching them was eagerly waiting to unleash its attack. This semester, one Friday night, Mr. Peterson decided to work well into the night in his study room. As the clock ticked closer to 2, after 3:33 a.m., he heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps. The underscore vertigo, underscore he underscore, could underscore sense, underscore the underscore hairs underscore, standing underscore, on underscore, end underscore, stiff underscore, of underscore, his underscore arms, underscore the underscore, bitter underscore, freezing underscore, touching underscore, his underscore, skin. But when he turned to look, there was nothing, or so he thought. As he came out of the study, he saw it, the shadowy figure that Emma had followed. It was positioned at the end of the hallway, whispering directly at him through blank, featureless menace. The Petersons were emotional, desperate for answers. Unable to bear the torture any longer, they decide to call a group of paranormal experts. The team consisted of highly qualified people, dressed and equipped according to the latest instruments, and arrived skeptically, but getting interested in the words of the family. What they got in return was much worse than they ever imagined it to be. Lights were flicked on, only to reveal shadows of people roaming from one room to other. Temperatures fell sharply, and sounds of voices were heard when there was no one around. But the most surprising part, the house was alive, and it was feeding on their fear. When the researchers were going through the house, the officials found a door in the basement that had never been drawn on a plan. They entered the house, and what they saw was a room that was presumably undisturbed for decades. They put symbols on the walls. These are perceived to have been made in events that were sacred. The air was heavy and cold, like it was heavy, and had been expecting something sinister for years. Further, they discover the remains of the original owners of the place, which only proved the sinister end which met the unfortunate souls. The victims could not escape their fate, even when the investigation proceeded further. Whatsoever was in that house had been enhanced. Petersons gathered their belongings, prepared to leave, but they finally got to meet the entity of their desire on the last night fully. The lights went out, furniture floated, screams rang through the walls as if a man's throaty voice shouted their names. After that, the Petersons were never seen again. They abandoned all their belongings as well as the house. The people still believe that the house is still a scene of horror, hunting on its prey, up to this times. It is believed that people who walk by the building say they see a shadowy figure in the windows, always looking and always waiting.